Mishnah study Masechet Sanhedrin Peragim Mishnah. Gimal over here in this Mishnah, we're going to speak about when you have disqualified judges and witnesses. Right? How do we treat them? If we mentioned earlier, if you have one person is a karov, he's a relative, or he's pasul, right? What does that mean? He's pasul. He's disqualified. What does it mean to be disqualified as a witness? So that's going to be our Mishnah. Elu hena pisulim. Harambam also gets a little has a few interesting points throughout, and we're going to point them out as he goes through. But what is considered pisulim? Right? Person who plays with dice. Right? Harambam over here, he gives two examples. If I'm trying to explain what they are, some people say it's like a tole, right? Backgammon. But it's really he's playing with dice for money, the gambling. Before I even go to Malvin Biribit, Harambam enters over here an interesting thought that's always important to him, and he mentioned in the introduction to the Mishnah. Anytime I have an important thought in regards to emunah, I'm going to spread it throughout the Mishnah, and this is one of those places. And he says the reason that this is asur, why don't you accept this person as a witness anymore, right? Because he's mitasek, he's dealing with something that has no purpose in Yishuv Ha'olam, in bettering this world, right? And the point of our Torah, right, is that a person shouldn't bother himself in Olam Hazeh with anything other than one or two things, either with limud, right, so he could perfect himself, or with work, so he can help with Yishuv Ha'olam, right, with something that's allowed. And Rambam points out he should minimize the work and focus more time on the limud, as the Mishnah Navot says, "Have me'at esek va'asok b'Torah," right? Meaning work less and focus on your Torah. And then Rambam says, "Va'ashuv linan halacha." Now I'm going to return back to the Mishnah, right? So what are the psulim? So someone who's gambling, right? Someone who is lending or borrowing with interest, right? They're both asur. Mafrichayonim. Frichayonim is someone who takes money. He ends up taking money that's not his, because what does he do? He ends up dragging or pulling pigeons and doves from one place to the next. But when he does so, right, if he has a bunch of male pigeons, the females are going to come from the next door neighbor, and he ends up really stealing things that aren't his. Ve'sohare shvi'it. Right, so Haresh is people that are selling shivi'it, right, shemitah fruits. Right, again, they're taking something that's not theirs and doing business with it. Now, it comes to Rabbi Shimon. Amar Rabbi Shimon, in the beginning, they would call them collectors of shivi'it. Now, mishirabu anasim, when you had too many people who were forcefully collecting, we'll get that as a second. They went back to call them, merchants of shemitah, of shavi'it fruits. Now, what does this mean? So Harambam explains over here that in the beginning, both collectors of shavi'it were pasul, and the sohare shavi'it, and the merchants who were selling shavi'it were pasul. But when the goyim came and they would force Israel with lots of taxes, so what Israel would do, and they would allow it, was they would let them to go take from, or they allowed it, but Israel ended up just taking from what they had during the Shemitah year. They would collect that and pay off their taxes with it. And at that time, they would say, the Osfeh Shvi'it, those people are kasher, they're kasher for edut, but the Sohare Shvi'it would be pasul. Afterwards, they hazru likrotan Sohare Shvi'it. Afterwards, meaning over here, afterwards, they came back to say, the only people that would be pasul would be the sohare shvi'it, okay, and not the osfeh shvi'it. Okay, now I'll just finish. Amar Rabbi Yehuda imatai, when so bizman she'en lo omanut elahi, right? This is when all these people pasul edut, when they don't have any other job other than this, right? Avad yesh lo omanut shelohi hareze kasher, right? But if he has some other job, right, he just does this little thing on the side, then he's still considered kasher. Harambam says halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Now, I just point out over here that Harambam goes into a little bit of a lengthy piece at the end, and we'll just point out what he focuses on. So he goes, first, don't think that these are the only people that are pasul edut, right? There are others as well. And I'm going to give you a rule and how you can figure it out, and that is anyone that doesn't performs an avirah that he's hayav lashes for, malkut for, he's pasul edut. Okay, even if there's no money involved, right? So he's pasar b'halav, or he has unkosher food, or he shaves the his peot, right? He wears sha'anez, right? Any of these, he's considered a rasha, right? And he gets malkut, as the pasuk says, v'yimbina malkut rasha, right? And also pasuk atashet yadecha im rasha liot ed, right? So over here we have our Kabbalah tradition is that don't make a rasha an ed. And once he gets malkut, once he actually gets lashed for what he did wrong, he can return to becoming kasher to testify again. Right? As the pasuk says, "V'nikla achicha le'enecha." Once kevan shnikla hareu achicha. Once he gets lashes, he paid for his for what he did wrong. Then he becomes your brother again. Okay, that's the first rule that Harambam gives. Now the second rule, who's the second person that's pasul, is someone who takes money that's inappropriately. Now, even though he's not hayav malkut for it, he's still pasul edut, like someone who steals, right? A ganav, gazlan, or someone who lends with interest, right? Malvei b'ribit. Now, because because these people are taking money that's not theirs inappropriately, Shamim also said that these mafrichei onim, the people that are getting these pigeons to move, ve'hamsanim, ve'agabaim, right? Muchsim, ro'im, ochlet tzedakah shel goyim are all pasul edut, right? The gabaim, they take money, they could take money that's not theirs. Tax collectors also, they may take things that are not theirs. The shepherds, right? They're letting their animals graze in fields that don't belong to them. Tzedakah goyim, Harambam says you're not allowed to take tzedakah unless it's from Israel, but if you're eating from tzedakah goyim in public, right? For no reason, meaning like you don't have to. You could collect from Israel. It's an avirah. Right? Now, all these that we mentioned are pasul midrabanan, not midoraita. So therefore, we have to actually publicize it that these are asur. But when it comes to pasul, something that's pasul midoraita, right? Stealing, or eating unkosher, right? All those things, they're considered when ed zomem, right? They're considered pasul edut and the hayav malkut. You don't have to even publicize that. That's known. Also, Harambam says I don't even have to mention that someone who's chayav mita, right? That they're pasul, right? They're considered rasha, right? Asher rasha lamut, right? So of course he's going to be pasul. Now, how does a person make teshuvah? Right? Has a person become ra'ui again? Okay, so now he was gambling, for money, and he was pasul edut. How does he now become someone who can testify again and can become a kosher witness? Right? He wants to, he wants to be one of the edim on the ketubah. Is he kasher edut or is he not? So he needs to return back from his ways, right? So first he needs to return the money that he stole to whoever he took it from, and if he could do so publicly, he should do so publicly. And he should not return to any of those actions again, right? And Harambam says, even in a way that would be appropriate. Like how so? He goes, okay, let's say he worked with ribit, he took interest. Okay, return the interest back. And don't even lend with ribit to goyim, which there are instances where it can be mutar. Right? Which would be mutar. Right? No, don't do that. Even that, which would be mutar, don't do. Right? Similarly, someone who is gambling. Okay, now don't even play those games, even if it's not for money. And someone who is mafriach lionim, he shouldn't even do so in the middle of a desert, right, where there's no other pigeons or doves, anyone around him. Just stay away from those actions, right? And once it's known about this person that he made teshuvah, and edim came and saw that he had a potential to go ahead and perform that same avirah, and he didn't. He held himself back because of the teshuvah that he did. This is considered hozer liyot kasher, right? It's very interesting. Harambam is in his process of a person, baal teshuvah. How does someone become, make teshuvah? This is it, right? But over here, it's interesting enough because there's a ramification of whether or not he can become an ed, a kosher witness, again in a in a betin, in a court.